Hello again, and welcome, and also greetings from Bulgaria. My name is Dobrin Dimchev, and I'm here today to talk to you about how you can boost your knowledge about accessibility, and especially with the UI5 framework. As we know, we always try to innovate our products. So that is why we from the UI5 team are heavily investing in technical improvements that are related or not to accessibility. But over the past year, we have also invested heavily in providing better documentation. So to make it easier for developers to better understand the basic of accessibility, why applications should be accessible, and how to best take advantage of the framework's functionalities, so that is as easy as possible to increase the accessible state of your application. So this is the agenda for this presentation. We will first see what was improved with our accessibility documentation that is in the demo kit. Then, although that we made many improvements to the documentation, nothing else better than the code examples. So this is why the accessibility best practice application is now live, and we will take a look at some accessibility first samples that show how to apply the correct APIs. And last but not least, we will talk about the accessibility mission, which is available to everyone in SAP Discovery Center. Again, a set of practically oriented exercises that will bring more visibility and showcase the framework's capabilities related to accessibility. So one of the top priorities for UI5 is to constantly evolve and improve along the line of accessibility, and it is also necessary to incorporate latest regulations and industry standards into our accessibility development guidelines. So our documentation is contained in demo kit, and we recently did a review on and find out that we could make some improvements. So following the logical separation of functionality, we went through each of the topics and reorganized the content. We have even added new content, so you can now dive deeply into some topics that are related to developing applications. It is now simpler to navigate, as it can be seen from this screenshot. The content is semantically grouped into 3 sections, being the essentials, and of course the developing applications. And if you're developing controls, there are also a section for that. So let's take a closer look into the essentials example section. We now provide here a general explanation of what accessibility is, along with some key and helpful links to area resources. UI5 also offers a screen reader support in order to aid people with visual impairments, and this implementation is based on area and HTML standards, and here you can learn what area stands for and why we need to use different rows for the different UI elements. And the framework also provides a keyboard handling support to increase the accessibility state and also to speed up the work. So here you can also learn the basic keyboard shortcuts and their expected outcome. Also, now that they are available, developers can now understand the value of the accessibility building blocks and why they serve as a foundation. Things like the correctness of the HTML and the right set of the area attributes. UI5 also offers visualization features out of the box, like minimum contrast ratio, consistent focus behavior and design, and also complex controls layout differently based on the different screen sizes on the devices. We also provide support for up to 200% browser zoom, and even to high contrast themes, which you will find examples here on how to switch between. We have also added a brand new accessibility support history section where you can keep track of enhancements or any updates, any new accessibility features that were added to the framework, or even any important SAP notes that we think that you should be aware of. As I said, we are constantly improving, and this will be one of the ways we will try to provide our customers with the latest news and adaptations that were done on the framework level. We should also know that accessibility is incorporated at two levels, the first one being the framework level and the application level. And many of the accessibility requirements are already implemented in the framework level, and that will ensure consistency between different products. However, some features still need to be added or adapted according to the application context, and they still need to be considered by the application developers. So if you're an application developer, you should definitely check out the accessibility documentation topic on developing applications. This was also enhanced, and the accessibility topics here are now logically grouped. There is more content. We provide additional recommendations here on keyboard handling, on high contrast theming, and many other additional accessibility aspects. We have also added new recommendations for do's and don'ts. Any tips for testing for your accessibility, your application against accessibility support, and also lots of examples. And speaking of examples, the accessibility best practice application is now live. And this is one of our latest achievements. We know that sometimes enabling accessibility could be a complex process. So this application will guide you through the most important steps. And as we already learned, many of the requirements are covered by the framework, but design aspects that are related to the individual purpose of the application still may need to be added by the application developers. For example, the initial focus position or the landmark structure sometimes need to be adjusted. The keyboard handling could be extended, or yeah, you will find here examples of how to do that. And this application is located in the Demo Kit tools page, and it is important to say that our goal here is not to replace the accessibility documentation that we saw earlier in the slides, but only to provide additional guidelines and some points to watch and follow, to follow some best practices when developing your application. So what we see here on this screenshot is the overview section, which is only to summarize the most important information about the main accessibility topics. And on the next slide, we will see we see screenshots from the Explore section, which contains code examples that illustrates how to best how to use the APIs that are provided by the framework. And for example, here on the left screenshot, we see the sample that illustrates how we let application developers set different roles and labels to the pages using the landmark info aggregation. So that is easy for end users to navigate the page using the screen reader shortcuts. And it's fair to say that this is a relatively new topic that our teams are developing. So it will be improved a lot over the time, as we plan to add new features to attract more developers. Like we are planning to add a live editor, so that is more easy for application developers to test the framework's capabilities. We are also planning to make more contributions to cover more of our controls. So I guess we can see a short demo of that because I think it's quite important. So here we are in the demo kit, and if we now go to the tools page and scroll down a bit, we will see the accessibility guide card, which will lead us directly to the best practice application. And on the overview section, we can learn, for example, the best how we can label some of our input controls. For example, if we use that button, we can navigate directly to the example that will show us how we can apply the labeling into our simple form. Or if you're looking for on how to label a sub and select, you can see that there is an example for that. And here you can navigate the files that are representing the sample. So here we see that there are two ways. One being using the label for attribute property of sub and label, and one using the area label by aggregation of sub and select. And there are, you can see here that the content is also grouped by topics, and there are, it is available for many of our controls. So we can go back to navigation, to the presentation, and to our last topic, which is the accessibility mission available in the SAP Discovery Center. So our goal with this is to bring more visibility about accessibility with UI5 and in general, and to more easily and practically get to know the basic accessibility features and APIs that are offered by the framework. By taking part in the mission, you will first learn what accessibility is, how to use the tools that ease the development and the use of the accessibility related products, such as screen readers. And just after that, the practical part of the mission begins, and you will start to develop a simple application for creating and managing to-do tasks. So by solving a few simple steps, the goal with each exercise is to get familiar with the APIs that are provided by the framework and to increase the accessibility state of the application as much as possible. And the mission covers topics such as labeling, validations, messaging, landmark, and many more. And it is very helpful for people that are getting started with accessibility and in UI5. And you can always get help here in the community if you're stuck on some of the steps, or you can find other missions to create UI5 applications. So we are with this slide, I wanted to give you some takeaways from this presentation. For example, we saw our improved accessibility documentation, how the content was organized differently, so it is more easy for developers to find the needed information. We also, especially in my opinion, is the most important topic is the accessibility best practice application, as it illustrates a completely accessibility first samples that will help you in many cases. And of course, the accessibility mission, which will teach you how to make your application more accessible, completely practically. So that is all for me. Thank you, and can continue to your questions.
Do we have any questions in the room? Yes, over there. Well, that's going to be a big throw.
Hi. I was listening to the presentation, and I'm very happy with the development of the accessibility application, like this whole example and best practices. It's a very great thing, and based on my understanding, it is this application concentrates itself on UI5. And current state of SAP UI5 and so on is to go forward to web components and incorporate web components in UI5. Do you plan on expanding this application for web components? Although there are a lot of similarities, but there are also some differences in how they are implemented. So do you plan on expansion?
Yeah. Well, that is a very good questions. Very good questions. So there is an ongoing discussion about this. Where is the best place for the web components examples to live? Should they be in that application, or should they live in a separate playground? But we are definitely planning on adding accessibility best practice application for web components. So yeah, we will announce that once it's ready. No matter if in the accessibility best practice application or somewhere else.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you a lot.
So we do have time for more questions if there are any. Well, it seems there are no more questions, also not from the community. So Dobrin, I want to thank you again for bringing this very important topic to the attention of the community and everyone in the room.